Welcome to our Meet the Experts TV production design panel. We're here with Howard Cummings from Lovecraft Country and Westworld, David Bomba from Ozark, Helen Scott from Small Axe, and Barry Robison from Snowpiercer. Thank you all for being here. When you guys read a description of a place or scene, how quickly do you guys envision something in your mind, or is it a case-by-case thing? Let's go to Helen.
I think it's immediate. You know, it's just whenever you're reading a book or, you visualize it. It's the same with the script. And I suppose the trick is not to try and kind of lock yourself into that, immediate response. But actually, I find the immediate response is the one that kind of sticks. And you end up the end result is often very close to the first response, so it's worth listening to.
Yeah, I think listening to your gut is really important. Sometimes it's really hard to do because all the stuff that's going on and you can't do that. But for me, sometimes it doesn't come right away. You get into one thing. Well, like I think Helen, you worked on, I think you said it, you find the right thing and all of a sudden it tells you, like, I know what the space looks like. You've landed the right even a piece of set dressing will do it, or a location especially. And I've had that where some shows, like I've opened the page of the script and I remember, I think it was my first job. I opened the page of the script and the first description was set in a black void. It was like I started reading and I swear I got to the bottom of page 1 and I knew exactly what the whole show looked like. It was just weird. It just hit me like a brick. And it was not set in a black void. I remember the cinematographer showed up and he sees this whole set. There was this whole thing and it was like set in the 50s. And he goes, "What the hell is this?" And he thought it was all going to be done with lighting. And I said, "Oh yeah, I didn't do that."
Right.
Well, it's interesting. When I was in university, and taking design classes, we were taught to read a script twice at least before you made up your mind to do any design work. And subsequently over the years, I've read so many scripts, et cetera, et cetera. It kind of does come at you, like Helen says, almost through osmosis. But there are times when I don't want to be, I always trust my first instincts, but I still read a script twice just to make sure that first instinct really is the correct one before I sort of put pen to paper. It's interesting.
I think for me it varies, and sometimes in kind of recently in this crazy world that we're in, I've hit these kind of blocks, kind of these creative blocks of where I don't have an idea for this office space, or I don't have that. And so what I tend to do then is I kind of take myself out of the script, take myself out of the material, and kind of do a recharge, whether it's a hike or whether, we don't get to go to museums now. So it's scrolling through something on the internet or whatever. But I do agree with the first idea, the first thought is normally the one that I circle back to. I can very often go on a cloverleaf spin off of an interstate path, but I'll normally come back to that. But I think it varies. The episodic world is very different because it's not an overall theme or an overall story. And with the feature, it's like sometimes I'll use a piece of art or I'll use a piece of something that kind of is my grounding element. But I don't know. It comes differently for me on this particular project right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you guys shoot on location, what is it like working with the business owners or the owners of like a house you might want to shoot in? Howard, you were speaking about this a little bit earlier with Lovecraft. So, what's it like collaborating with these people?
I personally actually like it, and mostly because you get to find out all this crazy ass stuff that people do, and and which is one thing I like about the job. But I started out like I'm not a very good draftsman, honestly, and I actually could draw at one point in my life. I don't do it much anymore, but which is sad. Look at Barry behind Barry's head. That's his painting. He's a beautiful painter.
Yeah, that's
he is a beautiful painter, and he
that's
keeps
the way
it
I'm
up. Which,
feeling right now.
he keeps it up, which I'm very jealous of. Yeah, so, you're advertising, but I started out like all the design jobs I got were all super hands-on. Like, I had to load the truck, I had to do all this stuff. So in order to make the deal work, I remember when I did Usual Suspects, and it was like Bryan Singer was like just out of college or something, and he was like, we had to do a loft and all that. We had no money, like zero. It was like ridiculous. And so I remember I negotiated the deal with supposed to be a high-end loft, but we could only, I negotiated the deal was a 6-hour deal where I had to load in and load out, and they had to shoot it, and I had to get out in 6 hours. Otherwise we couldn't afford it. And I had to sit there and push Brian and go, okay, you're going to wrap it up, right? We're going to get, and then I remember the decorator showing me all this stuff, and she saw me all these nice things, and I'm going, so where's this from? And where's it? And she tells me, and I go, that's 2 trucks. We don't have 2 trucks. We only have 1 truck. So I'm going to get everything from here and shove it in. That's sort of the extreme, but I learned to like it, and I learned to like, sometimes you get inspired by, those people, and you certainly learn a lot, like, maybe happens on a show like Westworld, not as much, but certainly on Lovecraft, it was part of doing it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I worked, I say this to a lot of directors that, when we're doing location shows, let the location speak to you. And a lot of times that's what I will do, especially if it's a contemporary piece, or even a period piece. Let the location speak to you. And I can give you an example of that. I was working with Joe Johnston on a little movie years ago called October Sky, and it was set in a coal mining town in Kentucky. And the producer, Larry Franco, Joe, and I went out and we scouted and we scouted and we scouted and we scouted. We could not find the right location, and we couldn't find the right location. And finally, on I know you're not going to believe this, but on the very last day of the scout, the very last day, we were looking in the last hour as the sun was going down. We were at a 4 corners, and Joe and I said, "Stop." We got out, and that was our coal mining town. There wasn't anything there other than the 4 corners, but there was something so evocative in the landscape that we both knew it immediately. So, there's an example.
I love scouting, and I think scouting is what, is where so many inspirations come from. Last season, on Ozark, there was a character, her name was Sue Shelby, and she is a marriage counselor, and she works out of her home. And I found this house, and it was perfect. I thought the architecture was great. I mean, it was one of rarely do you find the turnkey place where it's like, yeah, they can just show up and shoot. We might need to switch out a couple of things, and I went into this house, and it's like, this is it. She's like, it was just wonderful. And it was Jason Bateman's episode, and he walks in, and he's so conscious about the camera and production, and it was on a janky street in Atlanta, and it's like, there's no way we're going to shoot here. We can't get trucks in here. It's like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, are you kidding me? It's like the mission. Like, how did they shoot the mission? They carried things up a mountain. Of course we can get trucks in here. And so, of course, but we ended up not shooting there. But I used the location references from that, the photos from that. And it was like, I handed them over to the decorator, and I was like, this is what we're doing. Like, we're doing this piano, we're doing this lamp. It's like, this is, and she did an amazing job in the location that we picked. But that's the I think the location, the scouting experience is when discovery, some of the jewels and the pearls are.
I think that's true.
I certainly feel that way, but none of the directors I work with do. They hate doing the goddamn van. Like Steven Soderbergh actually quit the business for a while, and the main reason was, I won't get in the scout van. And so
so do I.
We had worked together after a while. We had worked together enough that he didn't always have to get in the scout van. I would literally just pick it. And then, okay, you tech scout it, you pick it, whatever, it'll be fine. And I have to do a presentation, of course, so we knew what was going on, but he just hated it. Like, it was like pulling teeth, and he would always bring a book and read the book, and like as if he wasn't there to try to transport himself away from anywhere but being in that van. But I always liked it. So,
there are three kind of directors. One that likes pre-production, one that likes the circus, and one that likes the quiet of the editing. And I've really, over the years, found that pretty true, where it just depends on who you've got, but for the most part, either they love that pre-production period, or they love the circus, or they love that post, and it's...
Helen, what was Steve like in that regard?
Well, with location finding, he... Let me think. I'm trying to remember. He certainly participated. He was very, but he actually preferred it if you had done your homework, and then you'd done the scouting, you filtered them, you'd chosen the ones you thought best, and then presented. And actually, yeah, he preferred that, really. He did say to me a couple of times, "Don't keep asking me what I think. Just tell me what you think. You're the designer." And that, crikey, never had that before. So he was very,
he wants you to do your homework, right? You're supposed to come prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
With your A game. Yeah, and I've worked with people like that who, and I actually find that rewarding. Unfortunately, it's a lot of responsibility, and because the potential of screwing up is
it is. And over that series, we had a hell of a lot of locations as well. We didn't actually do very much. We didn't do much set building. We did set building within locations, but we were all over London for 8 months shooting on location and doing those films more or less back to back. So it was a marathon, really. And we had to kind of cut our cloth really according to the schedule. We had to squeeze things in and make two or three sets out of one location. But I think on the whole, locations can be very sort of really contribute an awful lot, because they come with all their warts, don't they? They sort of force you. They force things to be a bit uncomfortable. They're not perfect. So I think it kind of knocks things off kilter in quite an interesting way when you're shooting or when you're designing. How am I going to deal with that really ugly window, or that staircase is weird, and you have to kind of work them into, weave them into your design. And that's interesting. That's challenging.
Yeah, when I did Snowpiercer, we never left the stage. Never. We had 4.5 sound stages just full of scenery. And then, it was all on the production designer. You know, one director hates it, another director loves it. You know, this producer loves it. You know, blah blah blah. And so it's a constant, you know, not a struggle, but it was, you know, having to convince everyone over and over and over. And this is why I did it, and this is why it works. And yes, but the windows aren't right, and the da 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 da. You know, and so you would just go constantly over, as opposed to going out on location where, you know, it's informing the design. That's what I love about a location, you know, and working a location setting. Just can be magical.
Yeah.
Lastly, is there a genre that you guys haven't worked in yet that you would love to do? David, let's start with you.
I'm envious of Helen. I had a show that I was going to be doing in England years ago, and I was there for 5 weeks, and we were going to be shooting in Norwich, I think, up northeast of London, and really exciting. It was post World War II, and I was excited about that challenge, and loved being in England and working with the English crew there. So I want to do a project in England.
It's very broad.
Particularly my friend Anna Pinnock, a good friend of mine, is available, and she can help me out there. But no, that's what I want to go. I think that Barry mentioned working in Croatia. I scouted in Croatia a couple of years ago, and my eyes were just like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I want to go to Europe.
Yeah, amazing. Howard.
Oh, okay.
You've done everything.
Well, I haven't done. I'm prepping consulting on something I've always wanted to do, which is a space saga. So I'm sort of doing that. It's horrifying because I have no idea how I'm going to do this, and it's also quite large. So I'm like sitting there going, it's interesting to be, you know, come this far, and then suddenly you're still like you're going like, how the hell am I ever going to pull this off? And then it's super inspiring, you know, but it's also terrifying. So I think that's good. I think it's good. You know, I think I wouldn't, you know, there's a certain amount of where you like your job because you never know where it's going to take you. And I'm certainly not bored. I'm terrified more than bored, but it's like it's either that and there's a project, but there is another project that I would love to do, but I'm not sure who got it. They're doing Devil in the White City. That is that, you know, I've always loved that. Well, I've done stuff in the 1800s, but that particular story is very appealing. But I'm happy with my space thing. So we'll see how I do. I'm not sure. We'll see, but you know, I have to really think out of the box.
Well, I think that all of us have got such, you know, diverse careers. I don't think any of us have a career that would lock us into, oh, well, David only does so-and-so, or Howard only does blah, 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 blah. You know, I don't think that any of us, you know, are locked in a box. And a lot of people want to lock us in those boxes. Like, oh, you only do a Marvel movie, or you only do this movie. I think the real challenge for any designer is, you know, and fun is that we can do anything. We get to do anything. It's our imagination. It allows us to go and create worlds that have never existed before, or go and do that incredible period research, you know, or delve into character analysis, you know, on how it affects, you know, the visuals on the screen. I mean, you know, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see what tomorrow brings.
Sorry.
What about you?
I was going to say I completely agree with that. You know, I think you know, it's the genre, you create the genre yourself in a way, you know. I think for me, I'd like to do some sort of big studio, big budget thing. And but I'm actually, you know, like you were saying, Howard, you know, the idea of the blank canvas and having to create everything from imagination is, you know, that's quite a terrifying thing for me to sort of confront, I would say, because I'm used to sort of more location driven stuff, I suppose, and more character driven stuff. So sort of fantasy, I'd love to dream I could do that, but I probably can't.
All right,
Well,
we gotta go.
It's just a different way of thinking. It's the same process, though. I mean, you still have to visualize what, you know, locations, you know, because I'm sure you've walked in, everybody goes like, I mean, I've walked in and had a decorator like walk out of the space and go like, you're out of your mind. Like, there's no way. And then I remember like we're madly dressing this thing, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning before the shoot, which is at 6. And she goes, you know, I think this is my favorite set. And I'm just going, I want to kill you. She literally walked out of the Scout and said,
ultimately,
but I had it in my
it's
head.
a script.
Like,
it's a script. It's a script. Helen, it's a script. You'll read it, it'll be on the page, and it'll come to you. So whether it's a huge, you know, studio picture or a small independent, the script is the guide.
Yeah.
You know.
You're very right.
Well, thank you all for being here. It's great speaking to all of you, and congratulations on all of your projects. They're all so very different and a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was fun. Thanks.